CFR code 312. There is a part 312 investigational new drug application, in which there is a general provision. This part contains procedure and requirements governing the use of investigational new drug, including procedures and requirements for the submission to and review by the Food and Drug Administration of investigational new drug applications. IND is an investigational new drug for which an IND is in effect in accordance with this part is exempt from the pre-marketing approval requirement that are otherwise applicable and may be shift lawfully for the purpose of conducting clinical investigation of that drug. There is a reference in this part of regulation in the Code of Federal Regulation are the chapter 1 of Title 21 unless otherwise noted. There is a applicability applicability of investigational new drug application is the applicability except as provided in the section. This part applies to all clinical investigation of products that are subject to section 505 of the Federal Food, Drug and Cosmetic Act or to the licensing provision of the Public Health Service Act 15 Statement 632 as amended to 42 USC 201 ET sequence expansion. The clinical investigation of the drug product that is lawfully marketed in the United States is exempt from the requirement of this part if all the following is applied. There is the investigation is not intended to be reported to FDA as well as control study in support of a new indication for use nor intended to be used to support any other significant changes in the labeling for the drug. If the drug that undergoing investigation is lawfully marketed as a prescription drug product, the investigation is not intended to support a significant change in the advertising for the product. The investigation does not involve a route of an administration or dosage level or use in a patient population or other factor that significantly increases the risk or decrease the acceptability of the risks associated with the use of the drug product. The investigation is conducted in compliance with requirements for institutional review set forth in a part of 56 and with the requirements for informed consent set forth in part 15, and the investigation is conducted in compliance with the requirements of CFR code 320.7. There is a clinical investigation involving in vitro diagnostic biological product listed in paragraph B2(2) of this section is exempt from the requirements of this part if A is the intended to be used in a diagnostic procedure that confirms the diagnostics made by another medically established diagnostic product or procedure, and B it is shipped in compliance with the CFR code 312.160. There is a second, in accordance with the paragraph B21 of this section, the following procedure or product are exempt from the requirements of this part: A. Blood grouping serum, B. Reagent red blood cells, C. Anti-human globulin. A drug intended solely for tests in vitro or in laboratory research animals is exempt from the requirements of this part if shipped in the accordance with CFR code 312.160. FDA will not accept an application for an investigation that is exempt under the provisions of paragraph B1 of this section. A clinical investigation involving use of placebo is exempt from the requirements of this part if the investigation does not otherwise require submission of an IND. A clinical investigation involving an inspection from informed consent under CFR 15.24 of this chapter is not exempt from the requirement of this part. Bioavailability studies. The applicability of this part to an vivo bioavailability studies in humans is subject to the provisions of 320.31 enabled indications. This is part does not apply to the use in the practice to medicine for an enabled indication of new drug product approved under part 314 or of a licensed biological product. There is a guidance. FDA may on its own initiative issue guidance on the applicability of this part to particular investigational use of a drug. On request of FDA will advise on the applicability of this part to a planned clinical investigation. There is a definition and interpretations in CFR code 312.3. The definition and interpretation of terms contained in section 201 of the act apply to those terms when used in this part. The following definition of terms are also applied to this part. Means act like means the Federal Food, Drug and Cosmetic Act section 201 902 52 stat 104. It is sequenced as amended. Clinical investigation means any experiment in which a drug administrator or dispensed to or use involving or more human subjects. For the purposes of this part, an experiment is any use of drug except for the use of marketed drug in the course of medical patients. Contract research organization means a person that assumes as an independent contractor with the sponsor one or more of obligation of a sponsor, for example design of a protocol, section or monitoring of an investigation, evaluation of reports and preparation of materials to be submitted to the Food and Drug Administration. FDA means the Food and Drug Administration. INDs means investigational new drug application. For purpose of this part, IND is synonymous with the notice of a claim investigational exemption for a new drug. Independent ethics committee means a review panel that responsible for ensuring the protection of the rights, safety and well-being of a human subject involved in a clinical investigation and is adequately constituted to provide assurance of that protection. An institutional review board as defined in chapter 56.101 G of this chapter and subject to requirements of part 56 of this chapter is on type of IEC. Investigational new drug means a new drug, biological drug that is used in a clinical investigation. The term also included biological product that is used in vitro for diagnostic purpose. The terms investigational drug and investigational new drug are deemed to be synonyms for purpose of this part. Investigator means an individual who actually conducts the clinical investigation, that is under whose immediately direction the drug is administered or dispensed to a subject. In the event an investigation is conducted by a team of individuals, the investigator is a responsible leader for the team. Sub-investigator includes any other individual members of that team. Making application. There is a application means an application for new drug submitted under section 505B of the Act or biological license application for a biological product submitted under Public Health Service Act. Sponsor means a person who takes responsibility for initiate a clinical investigation. The sponsor may be an individual or pharmaceutical company, governmental agency, academic institution, private organization or other organization. The sponsor does not actually conduct the investigation unless the sponsor is a sponsor investigator. A person other than individual that uses one or more to its own employees to conduct an investigation that it has initiated is a sponsor, not a sponsor investigator, and the employees are investigator. It's all about CFR code 312. Thank you.